What's an oh shit moment where you realized you've been doing something the wrong way for years? I recently realized that the arrow to the right of the right comment box on Reddit mobile lets you skip to the next comment thread. I taught myself how to play clarinet. 6 months later someone told me that I'd been playing with the mouthpiece upside down. When I realized, at 18, that the phrase is up and Adam not up and Adam, I was always wondering who the hell Adam was, thought it was a stupid phrase. So I had always assumed that gas stations had pipes that led to a nearby oil plant or something. I live in Houston, so during Hurricane Harvey in 2017 there was so much news about the gas stations being empty because they weren't being filled. I was in the car with my sisters and we were talking about it, and I mentioned I don't understand how the gas supply was limited when the pipes are underground and not affected by the flooding. They both looked at me with the most confused faces ever, and one of them said, "You do know that trucks come to fill up gas stations, right?" And I was completely shook by this and had no idea, and they asked me, "So when you see the big trucks at little gas stations in the city with the tubes in the ground, what do you think they were doing?" And I replied, "Filling up their gas." Not something I did wrong, but definitely something I thought wrong for 17 years. Realize the multicolored tape measures glued to the door frames of gas stations etc. are for identifying robbers, not for measuring yourself as you walk out. I mean, they can be, but that's not why they are there, unless you're the robber. My family always had a cup next to the bathroom sink in case you needed to rinse your mouth after brushing your teeth, or maybe get a quick drink of water in the middle of the night. My grandma had the same cup at her house. I used it for years whenever I was thirsty. One day she saw me doing this and said, "Don't use that cup. That's where grandma puts her teeth." I owned a car with swivel headlights and it was very nice to have that. Discovered 3 years in that I had never turned on the swivel feature. Cork guns. Everyone says that you're supposed to pull it towards you, but I saw a Reddit comment saying that they're designed to be pushed away instead. My boss looks at me funny for doing it, but it's exponentially cleaner and tighter. I'm vigorously checking this thread to make sure I'm not an idiot too. Last month was the first time I discovered lint rollers were peelable. Literally sat there for a minute to take that in. Since the dawn of time, I would pick up the silverware and utensils out of their tray in the dishwasher and put them away in their drawers, then go back and pick up more out of the dishwasher. Then one day I saw my wife lift the tray out of the dishwasher and I legit stood there with my mouth open. After moving to a new city, I went to the laundromat and the Korean lady working was yelling at me about something I couldn't understand. After some pantomime it became clear that she was upset I was putting in the wrong detergent, but it was the same kind I have been using for 8 years since moving away to college and behind. Turns out I've been washing my clothes with only fabric softener for nearly a decade. They always smelled good, so I never really thought about it. Not my proudest moment. Not cause I've been doing something wrong my entire life, but saw it wrong. I'm colorblind and my entire life I thought peanut butter was green until I turned 19. And when I found out it was brown my mind was blown. It took so long because no one really talks about the color of things like that. I owned a light blue colored microwave for about 3 years that a family member gave me for a housewarming gift. Thought it was cool, never saw a blue microwave before. One night, a buddy asked why I never took the blue plastic wrap off my microwave, then proceeded to peel it off for me. Damn, that bitch is silver. Still miss my blue microwave sometimes though. I didn't know you could take off the caps of those refrigerated coffee creamers. I had been stabbing through the foil with a knife for years until my uncle saw me and asked what the fuck I was doing. Lol. Edit to say I'm a woman. People always think I'm a guy by my comments. Woman with medium light skin tone shrugging. I used to pull my pants down all the way at the urinal. For years I would struggle to take the cap off new deodorant. The one under the lid. It always is so stuck down onto the deodorant stick. I had an aha moment a year or so ago that I could simply crank the deodorant stick up until the cap could easily be removed. I'm 34. It took me until age 34 to realize this. For 20 plus years I've been saying play by year instead of play by ear. After a lengthy argument and a quick Google search, I was left with my tail between my legs. Not mine, but my dad has been spelling his name wrong his whole life. He's 51. His name is Jeffrey, and he's been spelling it like that since he learned how to spell his name. A few months ago my mom pulled out his birth certificate, and we all learned it's actually spelled Jeffrey. Not sure if he spells it correctly now, but it was definitely an oh shit moment for him. I used to fill the kettle by the spout. My parents have always done it this way. I thought the center part was mainly for decoration, but not functional. I don't know why I never questioned this. One day I bought a new tea kettle and my husband was like, WTF, what is inside this? And with great ease, opened the center to pull out a manual with instructions and whatnot. I was drinking dirty paper water for like 2 weeks. Living in a foreign country where I was actively learning the language. Social cues go a long way when learning a language on the spot. That being said, someone once said a phrase to me while serving a hot dish, which I assumed as meaning excuse me. After going through crowds and lines, replicating the same phrase in an attempt to be respectful of those around me, I abruptly found out that the phrase actually meant enjoy. Hindsight completely makes sense. The odd looks I would get by saying enjoy while squeezing past people all of a sudden made sense. One day I used a key fob to remotely start my dad's car. It was an oh shit moment for him. 2 years and he didn't realize he had this handy little function. My mom has been pronouncing Massachusetts Massachusetts for years and no one corrected her because they thought she just had strong feelings about Massachusetts. I used to think just reading the material was how everyone studied, so that's how I did it too. I never quite understood why my grades were so low. It'd be like I read the page, IDK what happened until I saw my friend making flowcharts and summaries and I was like, we don't have to do that you know, and he was like, nah, I am just studying. It blew my mind how much better my grades got. When I first got a debit card and would go out to eat at restaurants with my friends, I would leave a cash tip on the table. When I got the receipt to put how much I was paying, I would write down how much money I left on the table. For at least 6 months I gave double tips to every waitress I had. I didn't realize I had to brush the back of my teeth as well as the front. I was a dumb kid. I blamed toothpaste adverts. Until I was 15. Had 9 filings and a root canal. I accidentally logged my tips incorrectly for the first month or so of working at a restaurant. I'm not quite sure how I was doing it, but I ended up not getting taxed on a couple $100 because I never logged them as income. No one really ever told me you don't need to buy shoes with the 2 fingers space in front of the toes after your feet stop growing. I had been buying an entire size too big until about age 23. One day in college I decided to try a pair of Merrell barefoot type shoes and after reading the sizing guide, bam, mind blown. It's terribly obvious mistake. I, 29F, like to blame on being an only child, but really I'm just a fucking moron. I always thought eggplant tasted itchy, like itchy was a flavor, like sour or salty. Fed some to my baby and his face turned red wherever the eggplant touched, and I realized we're both just allergic to eggplant, and itchy isn't a flavor. Winding a watch that was battery powered, for like, a year. Ah, fuck, thanks for making me think of that. Sometimes I assume I know the lyrics to songs I have heard on the radio for a long time. I always sang Toto's Africa as I miss the rains down in Africa, until someone made fun of me and told me it's I bless the rains down in Africa. I argued, that makes no sense. Why would someone bless rain? It's a song about longing to return to Africa, which is why they miss the rain. Then I went home and looked up the lyrics. I grew up without a mom. She passed when I was 6. I was afraid to ask my dad how to put a tampon in. One day I made a comment, about age 18, to some friends that tampons hang out too far out your bujingo and made me feel like I waddled when I walk. My friend asked me how I put them in. I thought it would get stuck up there and wasn't inserting it far enough. Did it wrong for about 5 years. My friends still make fun of me for it. I can't help but use the dead mom card, but looking back it's pretty common sense how to shove it up there. Travel frequently for work and only just noticed that most laptop bags have a strap to place over a rolling suitcase handle. I didn't find out that I was supposed to punch out for lunch until my 3rd job. and even then it was because a coworker mentioned it in passing that they were clocking out for lunch. Not that I was doing it wrong, but I never knew the little arrow next to the gas gauge in the car told you what side the gas tank was on. Mind freaking blown when I found out. Found out I was lighting incense wrong. Boyfriend and I got a bunch to add to our collection of nice smells and we would light them and they would just start a little inferno. Convinced we were buying cheap garbage incense, we stopped using them. I proceed to buy a different brand in a hope those would work. I test light and same thing, it just goes up in an inferno. Roommate informs us you are supposed to blow them out once they catch. Oops. Well, this was a few years ago. I was the director of IT for a very large company. I was given a new cell phone and told to set up my voicemail. I don't know that when I recorded my name it would be played to whomever I leave a voicemail for. Well, the name I recorded was Dudder84 Corporate IT God. I worked there for 4 years until someone in the hallway referred to me as the Corporate IT God. I was so embarrassed. Former school nurse here. The number of high school boys who don't know what circumcision is amazingly high. Many think they were born circumcised. When they finally see a foreskin, they are in complete awe. When they find out the brown ring on their penis is a scar from when their foreskin was removed, they are also amazed.